Hey guys, welcome back to the world. And as you can see, I am working on a little project. If you guys couldn't tell from the imagery, it's a sugarcane farm. Yeah, I know I made a whole sugarcane farm off camera. I'm aware, probably not my best my best idea. But in my defense, a lot of this was just really grindy. Like, just getting a lot of cobblestone. Look, I always mine with a silk touch pickaxe. So I had to take all the stone I had, place it, and then mine it again. Just so I could get a bunch of cobblestone. And as you can see, that a lot of the stone that I mined out of here is gone now. Just from trying to craft pistons and what have you. And everything is ready to run. As you can see, I have some minecart magic going on. Let's be honest, you guys know how this bit works. I showed it in the last video, and you guys know that I used my oops. No, don't go that way. As you can see, I got like 3 minecarts going. You saw one pass under there just a moment ago. And that's for each level of this. It was mostly just to help simplify things, because I didn't want to have a trail going around this entire thing and what have you, but I accidentally made it more complicated in other places by having 3 rails, but whatever. But yeah, as you can see, I kind of have some of the rail exposed here, like this bit and this bit. That's partially. There was this restaurant that I used to go to where they would have this like toy train track just like suspended along the walls. And yeah, I always had fond memories of watching that go by as I waited for my food. So yeah, I decided to implement that into here. Also, it has that kind of factory feeling to it. But yeah, so eventually they kind of drop off. That was actually perfect. They just jumped off. Obviously, the first level one, you know, doesn't do anything fancy. It's probably mostly going to be hidden. But it goes down into here. And as you can see, each one goes into its own separate chest. Oh, it's already gotten a sugarcane over here already. And what we're planning to do is actually turn these chests into droppers. And the reason, I mean, this is also the reason that I decided to put this over here instead of like the dedicated floral area, is because if you guys may have remembered last episode, I wanted to have sugarcane hook up to this general area of the mud town. And as you can see, we have a little hole where I was planning on doing a tree, but instead I think I'm gonna do a water fountain. A water fountain that if you like press a button or something, or an idea that I came up with like just a couple of minutes before recording this. I was thinking of like, maybe if you toss something in, like toss a coin into the fountain or whatever, it'll pick it up and then detect that when it passes through a hopper, and then it will activate all these droppers down here. Ooh, I might die of fall damage. And it'll just spam these for a little bit, and it'll essentially just go up a item elevator, and a bunch of sugarcane will come out of the water up here. I hope that all makes sense. I know it's not exactly the easiest thing to visualize, but yeah, let's get to building the water fountain, just so we have something to work with. Now, originally, I was thinking of having like a more formal fountain, you know, something that's like standing up and, you know, has a wooden structure attached to it. But I was like, this just isn't a big enough area for that. So I decided to do more of a natural spring kind of look. Plus, it kind of fits the area more anyways. So I have a bunch of these extra slime balls because my slime farm was actually getting jammed. So I'm like, well, better take these out. and like a coin into a fountain. It gets picked up by a hopper minecart, and in a moment, yep, there we go. We have sugarcane coming out of the fountain. Yep. This is so much fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie, I've just activated this like 5 different times just for my own enjoyment, essentially. And I just realized that sugarcane's gonna release even more. Yeah, it floated off to the side. That's fine. As long as I pick it up fast enough, it's not that bad. But I'm just standing back here for you guys mostly. But yeah, it's not quite exact on like me getting a stack or whatever, but it's pretty close. And I guess I'm just gonna toss these out. Sugarcane comes in so fast with that farm, so that I can't afford to just toss these things out. In fact, I don't even really need sugarcane at the minute. I'll make some extra rockets anyway. So how does this work? Well, originally, I just put a button right here, so that's why there's a bit of line coming from here, just so, mostly for testing purposes. And for the actual activation mechanism in of itself, very straightforward, just minecart hopper goes into a chest, and if I ever want to fish this out, I can. But going into over here, I noticed that this, whenever I switched over to this, it would activate things a little too, it would flash too quickly, and some of these things down here would spit out instead of, you know, staying together, like how a T flip-flop works with pistons. So I added a little extender here that would only keep it on for like a little bit more, just so it can, you know, not get itself stuck. Because I would end up in situations where it would stay activated essentially forever, and all the sugarcane would come spitting out and never turn off. The reason this goes out to the side so much is essentially just to fit it around the sugarcane farm. Like the sugarcane farm is technically right above where I am, so we kind of went outside of the sugarcane room, and now we're kind of reaching back in from below. And as you can see, whenever this redstone block is pushed over here, this hopper is unlocked, so it starts trying to put itself into here, which starts powering this, and whenever it gets to a signal strength of more than 23, it will activate this piston and push the redstone block back. So it's essentially just a modified etho hopper clock. And something that I accidentally did was do a piston spit out again, but it actually worked in my favor because I forgot I needed to do this with a piston, not a sticky piston, so I guess that works out. So as you can see, that redstone block also activates this piston right here to push up this observer clock, and it takes signals that are going both into this block and this block to kind of do a rapid fire that goes into these target blocks, which allow the powering of these droppers, which are being fed by the minecart systems that I showed earlier. So, yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but, you know, still a pretty neat effect, if I do say so myself. Is it the most practical way of getting my sugarcane? No, not really. But it is a more fun way of doing it, and also, just consider this for a moment. I did just kind of toss out a bunch of the sugarcane I had. I don't really need max practicality. I just wanted to make sure that thing could refill quickly, just so I can activate it again really quickly. If I'm like in the middle of a build, I'm just consuming a whole ton of rockets, I can just get another stack real quick. So it's not entirely a secret that my boardwalk is a little bland. Like, I have some bits of texturing, like the right kinds of blocks are being used, but it's generally a little flat. And as you can see, I have basically started to try and have some variation in the leveling, because let's be honest, this is a mud town. It's going to be a little rundown with use. So as you can see, I paid a lot of attention to the side profile, because I just wanted to make sure that, you know, you didn't only just see the wear from the, you didn't just see the wear from the top, but also from the sides as well. So I made sure there's like fences underneath and like variations in the height and what have you, because I try to get things looking good from multiple sides, at least as much as I have the ability to. I'm not that great of a builder, but I try. But in terms of the path itself, it's mostly made of just risen trapdoors, some random... Oh, I did not mean to break that fully. And the fences underneath these, this is how I essentially hid these little fences here, just by putting trapdoors on top of them. And also, our first bits of proper lighting. Yeah, the lanterns. Yeah, I've been putting this off for a good bit. I just had a bunch of torches in the area because I was getting really tired of dealing with mobs. I had dedicated a pretty sizable amount of time to just getting these torches everywhere. But also, we did a little bit of decoration around the place as well, just so it didn't feel quite so empty and off-putting. But first off, this lever honestly does nothing. However, I might have it do something in the future. Maybe it can spit out mud or something like that. That would actually be pretty cool. But yeah, from the mud pit, we essentially just have a little... I don't know what you'd call this, but a little conveyor belt? Not really. That essentially just carries the mud up, and then you can just take it from here and put it on this little wagon. I'm not very good at building anything with wheels, but I tried. Maybe I should like hook up a horse here or something like that. One thing I've actually been thinking about is another farm. As you can tell, like, this has been a very farm inspired town, like not sugarcane, bamboo there, sugarcane in that general area, wheat kind of in that area. And over here, I kind of want to start a mangrove tree farming area. And how I want to do this is like have kind of like a wooden, not cage, but like boundary for like whatever tree I want to cut down and bone meal, while also having like a giant mangrove tree right here that like maybe has some ropes attached to it or something like that. I'll figure it out as I start making this tree, which I need to, I think I need to farm up some more mangrove wood for, funny enough. So one of the things that's inspired this area is actually my grandparents' old house, or rather where they used to live. A while ago now, they used to live in Louisiana, so every once in a while, we drive over there to visit. There were three main takeaways that I got during my times there, and those were, wow, it's humid, everything is mostly swamp, and wow, are those trees big. Now, in Texas, most of our trees are pitifully small compared to most places, so they were one of the things I paid the most attention to. Weirdly enough, I don't actually remember their silhouette all that well. I just thought they were tall, and more importantly, that they were thick. Fast forward some years, and my grandparents moved to another state, and the trees there were somewhat similar. They were kind of had that swampiness to them, but they had a lot more of that signature swamp look to them. You know, the sprawling roots, thicker trunks, and a lot shorter. You'd sometimes find these trees growing in like the middle of a lake or something, not unlike mangrove actually. Now that I'm building this here, I'm realizing that I'm not entirely doing either of those trees, rather more of like maybe a mixture of them. Like not too tall, a bit stubby, but the roots are a little cut back. And there's generally, I'm planning for there to generally be more foliage maybe. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what tree I'm building at the minute. I know what I want it to look like, but I have no idea where it would generally live outside of it just being a swamp. Yeah, I could probably use stripped dark oak log for, like, detailing. I was about to show that how the shape's coming out, but it's night. I probably should like sleep. Now, obviously, not the best swamp tree ever, but as you can see, I added some of those mangrove roots just so I can have that shagginess that some of them have. So yeah, now we go for the leaves. What kind of leaf should I go for? Like, the obvious choice is like mangrove. Yeah, I probably should do mangrove leaves just so it fits in with the rest of the place. Don't laugh. It's my third custom tree, okay? Eventually that excuse is gonna wear off. I actually gotta research how to do these things instead of guesswork. Use these vines to hide all my mistakes, like how I did with everybody in middle school. So I kind of realized that having a tree right next to a tree and only farming one of them, which would probably disrupt the leaves of this one, would probably be just generally a bad idea. So what I decided to turn this into instead is, well, because it's right next to the mud pit, I'm gonna just use this building right here as kind of a like mud conversion place where I can like keep wheat and what have you, just so if I ever want to make packed mud, I can just do that right over here instead of having to fly somewhere else. But that being said, I just thought of an interesting idea, and I wondered if maybe this can transition into a little bit of like a tree house. Not too much. This tree isn't really that big, but but I think having a little bit of a tree house-esque thing going on, just attached to it, would be pretty cool. So we're gonna keep working on that. So I know this didn't quite work out so well last time, but I'm gonna try to use mud bricks again, and hopefully it'll work, because I want to have some way of indicating that this is indeed the mud building, but it's not looking super hot, I'll be honest. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. Well, that's unfortunate. So I'm gonna show you what I've done with the mud town, but first I am going to take this wheat here and I am going to toss it into this little thing, and we'll put a pin on that, or put pin in that, and I will get to that later. So let's, oh, and I missed. So as you can see right over here, we did a little bit more with the boardwalk, you know, naturally expanding it to wherever we think is fit. I knew I always wanted, you know, like a bigger part right around here, just so there's some sort of central feeling place where you can kind of take a look around. But yeah, the half tree house is basically done. I decided to go for a more, what would you call it? A more flat palette. As you can see, I actually did end up using the mud brick for this part of the treehouse specifically. But yeah, as you can see, right there we have like the actual part of the treehouse, where yeah, we just have a little bed. You know, it's an easy place. I can see if I'm flying around, it's an easy place for me to land. And yeah, I just figured it was a good place to put a bed. So going down here, we have a little bit of a walkway, I guess. I feel like there's a specific word for this that I'm not really catching, but this is very much inspired by Obi's jungle house in on Nations and Nobles, because just that general like open feeling, being exposed to the greenery and trees, and having just kind of a semi-zen feel, but also like with a lot of nature. But yeah, in here, we're gonna have a bunch of mud stored. Whenever we just like farm up a bunch of mud in there and we don't have a particular place we need it at the time, we're just gonna put them in here. And down below, we actually have a barrel that has all of the wheat that we've been passing through. So that little water tunnel will actually pass up into here. And yes, I did a little dropper elevator thing. So that's how I managed to do that. I figured that would just be the most convenient thing to do for myself, just so anytime I just have extra wheat down there that I don't really need at the moment, I just pass it up to here. And then whenever I have mud that I need to compact, I can just come over here for a moment and grab some and then do whatever I need to. So yeah, essentially a mud station. For the build itself, it's very similar to this build over here, but as I said, I made it a little more flat, a lot more monochromatic, because I don't really know, I'll be honest. That's just what I felt at the time, but I knew that the roof up here, like when I was building this, it was just a bunch of spruce planks. And I was like, well, this looks very plain. So I decided to give it some wear and tear. That was not intentional. Get some like dark oak in there, have some of the mangrove roots hanging over the side, just to give it that, you know, bring it more into the tree, have it that interconnected feel. And with that, now we have a really weird silhouette of the tree, but you know what, I kind of like it. That being said, the thing I was doing originally was a tree farm, and I was thinking about putting it over here, but I realized that there's just not enough space. I could technically expand it, but I don't know, that does just I know this is how I explain things a lot, but it just doesn't feel right to me. That's just how I go, is vibes, and how something feels to my brain, and I don't feel like I should. I can't really explain it. But this side, in the meanwhile, this has a lot of space over here that I could clear out some of the bamboo, and this side, like, it has a lot of nothing, and I think the main reason for that is because I've had all of my items sitting on here. I really need to learn to have my items stored off-site, because then I have a natural aversion of building around here. I don't know why. But that being said, yeah, we're going to move all of this. And I think we're going to do the tree farm right around here because, yeah, we need to fill this place out a little. Okay, so I grew a tree real quick, and I put a door where I put the sapling. Don't ask why I used a door. So here's the thing. With trees, I've always done like this. I'll just kind of start tearing through it with a hoe, or before that, it was shears, or I would just like go up and directly just cut out the wood. But with mangrove trees, this is probably like one of the least effective ways of doing this. And I can relatively stand it for, you know, oak trees, birch trees, jungle trees, even dark oak trees. But with mangrove trees, it's always been a bit of a hassle because there's just so many leaves. You get so many more leaves than you do wood. Which, I mean, is nice whenever you're trying to finish up a tree project. But when you're just trying to get some nice mangrove wood, because as you can see, I've taken quite a liking to the mangrove log in general, like unstrip just the mangrove log, because it works so well with dark oak, like stripped dark oak. So I've been working at mangrove trees quite a lot as of recent, and I need to find a way to make this a little more efficient without making my mud town look too techno-y, because whenever you make a redstone contraption, it inevitably kind of gives off that industrial feel. And I gotta find a way to disguise it as something that's just more a part of the landscape. And I think I have kind of an idea on what I want to do. Okay, so after a couple of tries, I have managed to get a tree that would normally be the bane of my existence. So, I have to first make sure that I am right above the door here. Let me note down the coordinates. From here, we need to ensure that we have some clearance for some TNT. Does that destroy that leaf block? It does not. I think with that, we're going to use that leaf up there as a kind of starting point. And yeah, we're going to hopefully build something from that. So I'm going to work on a crane. I hope this comes out okay. And the idea I'm having with... Ooh, I probably should have kept that block. The idea that I'm having with this is I'm going to have a water elevator down here. So I can just like toss TNT into here and it will go into a water spout thing, which will go into a hopper, which will go into a dispenser, and some way, somehow, I got to get a redstone signal up there to also trigger it, which is being a little difficult at the minute, I'm going to be honest. Okay, so it is fully up and running. I've also done some other things, but I will get to those in a minute. So, as you can see, it didn't quite come out looking like a crane. Like, it kind of looks like it if you look from a distance. Here's the thing, I'm not very good at disguising things as a build in this sort of situation when redstone is involved. So, yeah, sorry about that. Whenever you pass a TNT into this water here, I hope that I can capture it. It should get its way up there, and it will activate this pressure plate, and then eventually it'll make its way into the hopper, which drops it into the dropper. So essentially the TNT not only works as a refill, but also as an activation system. So yeah, that was essentially my way of getting around the... Because I didn't want to have like another random attached thing to the side, like with a bunch of redstone torches, just to get the signal to release TNT. So I figured that was a more elegant way of doing it. I also added a rope off to the side here because I noticed that it seemed a little top heavy. So yeah, I ended up doing this little rope that like keeps it secure. Surprisingly enough, it actually took me like quite a few attempts to get this curve down to a way that satisfied me. In the meantime, I did come up with a couple of other elements, such as this little place with a campfire here. I knew that at some point I wanted to add a fireplace somewhere, and this seemed like as good of a spot as any. You get to see, you know, different bits of the town, but more importantly, you get to see a lot of trees. I used to go camping with my family a lot. 4 people, me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. And we would sit out in the middle of the night. Well, not in the middle of the night. Basically, as it was getting dark. And my dad would tell us a couple of campfire stories. I ended up doing this area over here. Now, obviously, not that much of a difference, mostly just more of the boardwalk. And this bit of the boardwalk, especially this, definitely shows my inspiration with the boardwalk in general. My inspiration for the boardwalk kind of has, you know, has several origins, but one of them is Yellowstone National Park. There is I forget, there's like springs, like acidic springs that you can like that have like boardwalks going over them so that you can like look at the water very closely. Now, keep in mind, you guys will probably notice that there are no railings or very little railings here. And that's because there weren't any railings in that situation either. And yeah, let me just say that was always a point of contention for me and whoever designed that boardwalk, because when it's in the middle of the day and there's a lot of tourists there, some people will kind of naturally crowd around certain places. The only way to, you know, get back to, off the quote unquote lake is to essentially go around in this circle. And yeah, you would sometimes have to go through these crowds, and I always felt super insecure going past them, because like, what if I like take a misstep or I bump into somebody and I like fall off and into this acid water? I never really fully understood why there was no railing. So yeah, that's the lack of railing has been kind of prominent all over the place, but you know, there is some bits of railing here and there, but I decided to make it very prominent right over here, where, you know, you have that like look down feeling, especially here. And I don't know, I just always kind of attributed this kind of angle on a boardwalk with a little bit of eeriness, just because basically because of that memory. But yeah, I believe that will do it for this episode. I am going to check out the comment of the day real quick. But this one's actually interesting because it actually connects very well with what I was just discussing. So yeah, let's go ahead and read it. This one is by Mooncatcher. I enjoy the episode and I find your videos quite relaxing. The feels that you are describing, for example, when you saw the rain from the overhang IRL, is the unique part we all bring into creating our worlds. So please do this more, go with the feel, and tell us more about the inspiration when this moment comes. Now, you might have noticed that ever since this video and ever since that comment, I have been trying to share the stories behind my inspiration a lot more. Like, say, in my Last Nations and Nobles video, I told you the hospital story when I had appendicitis, and that led to the backrooms hallway. Yeah, that I just described, you know, a little bit of my inspiration on the boardwalk and what have you up here. So yeah, I definitely wanted to showcase off that comment because I mean, content creators, I like to feel, are always regarded as like these experts of their craft, and I feel like that's just generally untrue. Because I feel like they're always kind of learning, and that can especially come from the comments, where people can kind of give their input and tell people what they want to see more in these episodes. Constructive feedback, essentially. And I don't know, that's just one thing I really like about YouTube, and it's highlighted in that comment really well. And honestly, yeah, I kind of like it when I add these stories, and yeah, you know, it's nice. So yeah, thank you for that recommendation. But that being said, fittingly, as the sun rises, I think that will be all for today. And yeah, have a good one.